All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about Mike Dara's latest video about your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty. This video is going crazy right now on the internet in our particular gaming space because, quite frankly, it's another former developer. I believe he's retired, essentially coping. He's coping over what the industry is. He's coping over the accountability that the gaming industry has to essentially answer for due to their particular practices that aren't exactly celebrated by gamers. This is the kind of person that believes that you should be able to criticize, just be nice about it, right? This person believes that criticism should come with some sort of kids' gloves on it and that they should not have any sort of actual emotional, anything to it aside from, oh, do better next time. That's what this person believes. Well, we're going to dive into this video because I guarantee you this is going to be maximum levels of cope, and you probably should get your cope suit on. So let's get into this video, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Let's hit it.
Did you read the title? Did it say something like your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or
Keep in mind, this guy used to work at Bioware. I'm not sure if he worked at Bioware Veilguard. I believe he worked on Dragon Age Veilguard, I think, but he did work at Bioware for a long time. Not too shocking, to be honest with you. He even has a Bioware trophy in the background here that you can see.
Unkind to the people that developed that game. Now, I'm going to be clear about something. I'm not saying that you have to like the thing you bought. I'm not saying even that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing you bought.
We will,
you
if it sucks.
You can have whatever opinion that you feel like towards a game. Even if that opinion is stupid and wrong, you are entitled to that opinion. And to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio that created this game that you bought.
Pretty sure, people feel the same way about his opinion. Stupid and wrong, but that's besides the point.
You paid 70 of your own dollars for this game, and it disappointed you, and you're angry about that. That is fine. You are entitled to be angry about it. And
well, that's where the beauty of non-shill YouTubers come into play, because they are the ones who are going to buy the video games, review them, and showcase them to their fans. So that way the fans that are looking for transparency in gaming don't have to risk spending $70 to find out that there was activists that made their video game. That's the most beautiful thing about all this. Or if there's certain features that are in the game that perhaps they disagree with, even if they may be optional, at least that way they can see what the game's about and make an informed decision. Because the gaming industry relies on people making ill-informed decisions. They try to hide as much as possible and then let people buy the game, and then they're not going to be able to refund the game because the refund window, by the time they find out what's in the game, has already expired. This is a strategy that needs to be torn down from the ground up, and YouTubers are doing that exact thing.
Entitled to express that anger in certain channels. If you are mad at that Ubisoft game, be mad at Ubisoft. Express your anger to Ubisoft or to the studio that made the game.
So this guy essentially at the beginning of his video confirms that you are allowed to do everything that he's about to complain about. That's literally checkmate. You know what I mean? Like you're allowed to do every single thing this man is about to spend the next 12 minutes complaining about. And he spent the first minute and 30 seconds of his video essentially telling you that everything that you're about to say is A-okay. Just don't be mean about it. That's basically it.
But you cross a line when you start being cruel about it. So why am I...
What about your fellow developers that were being cruel to people without anybody going after them in the beginning? What about that? None of you fucking losers ever want to talk about the developers that attack fans and don't get actually, nobody goes to them first and says, oh, you're an asshole. Nobody does that, right? If developers are getting hate, it's because they said something, usually, right? Or if developers are getting hate, it's because that studio has an ideology that is inherently anti-gamer. And you could try your best to try to sway it in the other direction, but that's not the case. You guys are the ones that start this first. Nobody gets hate unless they ask for it. And then when you get hate, you're like, oh, stop being mean to me. Yeah, nobody cares.
I'm saying you don't get to be cruel because you spent $70. Let's walk through it.
I want to be very
Cruel.
clear. I might have skipped this. Hold on. I want to be very clear. You are allowed to be, as long as you are not threatening anybody, as long as you are not doxing anybody, as long as you are not trying to cause physical harm to anybody, you're allowed to think whatever the fuck you want. You're allowed to do whatever you want if you spend $70 on a product and you feel like you got screwed. You are flat out allowed to say and do whatever you want as long as you are not actually trying to harm the person and do something actually illegal. Free speech and being mean is not illegal. You're not like these people are trying to police your thoughts and they fail every time they do it.
One, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing? It's a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people because of a video game that you don't like. Again.
So why are your developers going out of their way to try to cause mental harm or just fight with people just because of ideologies that they don't like? Right? The funny thing is, we had to pay for the video game in order to complain. You guys complain about ideologies for free. Right? It's not like we are asking you to buy our ideology and then you're mad at the ideology because you bought it. No, quite frankly, you just don't like it. So you come out of your way and you try to attack people for the ideology and it costs you nothing. Meanwhile, you're angry at us because we paid $70 for your fucking slop. We found out it was slop and then we decided to criticize you heavily over it. And because we weren't nice enough with kids' gloves, suddenly it's a problem?
I'm not saying you're not allowed to be angry about it. I'm not saying you don't get to express your dissatisfaction with the content of the game that you're not enjoying.
If somebody is angry, chances are they're not going to be handling situations with kids' gloves. Do we understand this? I mean, I feel like we're talking to kindergartners at this point. Like, what kind of world do you live in that you think that people who are extremely upset or angry are not going to give you criticism that is going to come from a place of anger, which is not going to be kids' gloves. It's not going to be nice. People are going to tell you exactly what it is. And the fact of the matter is, you just don't want to hear it.
But when you climb into someone's personal social media and start actively attacking that person, when you celebrate layoffs at a studio.
So first off, nobody goes to anybody's private social medias unless they were actively attacking people usually. 9 times out of 10, sure, every 1 out of 10, you're going to get some trolls online that are going to go try to find people that work at the studio and harass them. That's the nature of the internet, my guy. I get harassment every day. It is what it is. But for the 9 out of 10 that get it, it's because they said something ridiculous that people caught on to, and then they get hate for it, flat out.
The game that you don't like didn't do that well. You're crossing a line into being cruel. And fundamentally,
nobody attacks anybody for a game not doing well. Nobody, unless they're shilling for the game, and that's something different. But nobody says, oh, this game's not doing well that I bought, let me go attack the studio. No, that's not how it goes. It's quite frankly the game that they bought they didn't like because of XYZ, and they want to voice their concerns, and you're trying to make their concerns irrelevant because they're not nice enough about it.
You should have more grace for other human beings.
No.
But if you're not...
You shouldn't. Do you have grace for the people that make your t-shirts? Do you have grace for the sweatshops that make your sneakers? Do you have grace for the people that made your glass frames? Do you have grace for any of that stuff? Do you have grace for the people that made the statues behind you? Do you have grace for the people that made your bookshelf behind you? Do you have grace for any... No, of course you don't. You don't care. You're just trying to sit there and pretend that you care because you're the one that's getting criticism now. You don't give a crap. I say this all the time in so many videos, and I will say it again. For the most part, 98%, 99% of people don't care how a product is made. All they care about when it comes to the product is what can it do for them and does it work? That's all they care about. Only food is the one thing that some people care about how it's made. But otherwise, physical products like what you see behind him and what you see that he's wearing and video games, for example, nobody cares how it's made. All we care about is it good? Is it going to serve a purpose that we are looking for? And does it work? Quite frankly, that's all it is.
Buying that, let's go on to point 2. You don't know what caused the results that you don't like. Let's go through an example. Let's say that you don't like the line delivery on a piece of dialogue. Is that the fault of the voice actor? It might be, but it could be a lot of other things too. It might be.
Well, line delivery is done by the voice actor, right? You can't like the writer doesn't deliver the line, the writer writes the line. The line delivery is from the voice actor. So yes, if the line delivery by your definition of the words you're using is done incorrectly, then that is the problem of the voice actor. Now you could say, well, the line was badly written, and that's fine, but then say that the line is badly written. Don't talk about line delivery because that's the only job of the voice actor, to deliver the lines that are given to them. Simple.
The fault of the person who was directing that voice actor. Maybe they were given very specific instructions to deliver the line in this particular way. Maybe the writer who wrote that line wanted it delivered in this particular way, and the stage direction specified this particular line delivery. Maybe the recording.
It's a lot of whataboutisms. It's a lot of maybes, and this is the argument of someone who has no argument. When they start saying, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this happened, maybe you don't know, maybe you have no idea. Like, okay, maybe we don't. But what we do know is that we see patterns, and patterns are starting to be recognized through and through very easily by a lot of people. And a lot of gamers are being able to be woken up very easily these days because you guys are not, I guess, pros anymore at being subtle, I guess is the best way I can explain it, like you used to be.
Equipment at the voice studio went down, and the only take they managed to get was this first one that was done just to set the tone, and they were just kind of out of time and stuck with it.
So because the studio was out of time, or because the studio experienced a technical failure, that's somehow the fault of the gamer for being mad at a line being delivered? Like, you guys put it into the product. You realize that? That's a stupid fucking what if. Like, this guy's retarded. You guys put it into the game. If you had a technical failure and that's the only line you were able to record, perhaps you should fix the technical failure and then re-record the lines instead of being lazy and being like, oh, good enough. You're basically saying they should accept good enough, which is ridiculous.
So if you go and you start attacking the voice actor for a line delivery you don't like, it might not be them at all. It might be something else. Indeed, it might not be the line delivery at all. Maybe the problem was the writing. So should you go attack the writer? Well, no, because why was the line written in this way? Was it written this way because the writer had a specific...
Okay, so here's what all these whataboutisms essentially equate to. He's trying to say, well, if something's wrong with XYZ, don't attack the person in charge of XYZ, attack the studio as a whole instead. That's essentially what he's saying, which, by the way, that's basically what's happening. And part of going after the studio as a whole is calling out everybody who was involved in the production of this video game and asking, why did these things happen? What was your mindset when you went down this rabbit hole of whatever it may be? We do that all the time. And I want to make it very clear, if certain people are getting called out for whatever reason, they're getting called out because chances are they chose to partake in something that allowed them to get all this hatred in the first place. You're trying to make it seem as if we're just big, bad, evil, cruel people. But at the end of the day, you guys are the ones that are making the product and telling people to buy it for $70 fucking dollars. Sometimes even $100 to $120, depending on the edition. You're asking us to open our wallets and we're saying, well, this looks like slop. Can you tell us more about the game? And you say if you don't like it, don't buy it, whatever. And now you're mad at people being cruel. It's like you guys should probably look at a mirror and see yourselves for what you are and then determine perhaps you're not that far off from what you're complaining about right now in this video. Now, again, guys, there's so much more to this video. It's a 14-minute long video. I'm not going to be able to go through all of this. I went through enough to get the point of the video. But if you guys want to see me deep dive into this, I will be live tonight after you watch this video at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Hypnocast. I'll be reacting to this entire video live for everyone to see. So make sure if you watch this video to go to that live stream and check it out and join us because I'm sure it gets even more ridiculous from here. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.